Rec League Podcast. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your family, tell your haters. Available on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Breaker, and Stitcher. At Rec League Podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. At Rec League Pod on Twitter. Episode 25 coming soon. Yo, whether you watching this from Facebook, Twitter, click the link in my Instagram, or YouTube itself. What up, world? So I just watched It Chapter 2, not the sequel, but the continuation and the finale of 2017's It. It stars Bill Skarsgård and, stay with me, James McAvoy is old Jaden Martell. Jessica Chastain is old Sophia Lillis. Isaiah Mustafa is old Chosen Jacobs. Jay Ryan is old Jeremy Ray Taylor. Bill Hader is old Finn Wolfhard. Andy Bean is old Wyatt Oleff. And James Ransone, I almost forgot, is old Jack Dylan Grazer. And then Teach Grant is old Nicholas Hamilton. And aside from a couple supporting characters, that's basically the cast. Is directed by Andy Muschietti, who directed the first one, who directed Mama. If you want to get a shout out in my review of either Hustlers, I might go see Hustlers. Or, if not that, Ad Astra, Rambo Last Blood. Stay tuned to the end of the video to figure out how you can do that. So, 27 years have passed since the first movie. An incident from the book starts off this story, and it triggers the loser who stays in Derry, Maine, to call everybody else, because they made the promise. If it ever comes back, we'll come back too. And they all come back. As soon as they get the call, memories start rushing in, and they gotta go kill that fucking clown. Dude, I wanted to take a few hours and really gather my thoughts, man, because this is a flawed movie. It shows a lot of love to the book, but this is what I told my wife. It shows a lot of love to the book, but Andy Muschietti makes his own movie just like he did in the first one, but he didn't go Rob Zombie Halloween 2. And I loved the first movie. I loved this one. I think if you watching this movie as its own standalone story, you're doing yourself and everybody involved a disservice. I did my best to watch this movie as a continuation with part one fresh in my head. They do a lot with the like the kids aren't just in flashbacks from the first movie. They show a lot of flashbacks that weren't in the first movie that are accurate to the book. It's very cool. I thought the grown-up cast had great chemistry. I loved them together. The way like Andy Muschietti and all the writers, they shuffled, like the story was a deck of cards and they just shuffled things around. And sometimes that's cool, but sometimes that does hurt the execution as far as like the way Stephen King wrote it. The way Stephen King wrote it, everything just like dominoes, ting, 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 ting. And take out a domino and it feels a little off. Even from the miniseries, it feels a little off of the way the order of events, and the way to show like the deadlights, and the way that Andy Muschietti chose to switch it up from what Stephen King wrote. It's different. It's not bad. And then like the way like the calls, the first half of the miniseries, like if you watching this, I'm sure y'all have seen the miniseries. The grown-ups get the calls, and then the kids are in the flashbacks, and that's part one. Well, there are no calls in the first movie, 2017, so all the calls happen very fast. And then Henry Bowers getting back to Derry happens fast. And the meat of this movie is really when they're out. Like, there's the dinner with the fortune cookies, and the meat of this movie is really when they're out on their own, trying to remember what happened when they were on their own as kids. And I really like, there are a couple scenes that I really like, and there are a couple that just get brushed over. There are, I feel like, because of the way this movie begins, Andy Muschietti thought he had to make it up to like that demographic, so he made a change in character to one of the seven. And there's no like real like Pennywise taunts the character about it, but there's no real like explanation as to like, because in part one it's never even implied, but come part two, 27 years later, when all these people are supposed to have forgotten about everything, maybe they didn't, and it's never really explained. But I don't know. I'm telling you, like, I don't want to spoil anything. I want y'all to know that Bill Skarsgård kills it again. The adults are good. Like, that was that was also the knock against the first part two with the adults, that it wasn't as good as the kids. The adults are great. Part one might chapter one might be better as a movie, because I feel like that's probably the one thought I couldn't lock in, that at 2.5 hours long, there's still a lot that was omitted. And there's something very important in the book that the miniseries kind of touches on, but not book accurate, that this movie just completely disregards. But I still loved, as a continuation and a finale, I still loved this movie. You have to watch them both. I was telling my wife also that I'm not somebody who buys multiple versions of the same movie on Blu-ray, but if there was like a 5.5 hour release of It Chapter 1, Chapter 2 that was edited to flow, like scenes flowed like you read in the book, I would buy that. Also, like, the finale doesn't happen the way it does in the book or the miniseries either, but there is something in the finale that I thought was kind of like a middle finger to everybody that complained about the finale in the miniseries, because it is book accurate. This is where I gotta cut it off, man, because, like I said, I don't want to spoil anything. The effects are there. There are multiple good jump scares. I heard complaints about the humor. Like, I thought it was funny in the proper moments, and it didn't take away from anything else, in my opinion. So, with all that being said, in my opinion, I will say that It Chapter 2 is dope as fuck. As the last movie in my 10 most anticipated movies of the year, it was worth the anticipation. Have you seen It Chapter 2? What did you think about it, man? Positive, negative, somewhere in between? Let me know. So everything else that I'll put that little banner across at the bottom of the screen for future reviews will be an honorable mention. So when Joker comes out, when Zombieland comes out, when Star Wars, The Irishman come out, sorry, they're honorable mentions because of last movies in whatever franchise or release dates that I didn't know if they would come out, man. I recently reviewed Angel Has Fallen. I have posted my top 5 movies of the summer. Good Boys review is up, Hobbs and Shaw, etc. Man, I might go see Hustlers next weekend. I might just watch it again the weekend after that. Like I said, Rambo: Last Blood, Ad Astra. Rec League Podcast episode 25 coming in the next couple days. Fall movie preview, college football season preview, Little Brother album review. Like, subscribe, comment. Find me where you find me, man. Don't know where to find me. Watch these credits. Peace.